In the summer of 1518, in the city of Strasbourg, something deeply unsettling unfolded. There was no enemy at the gates, no burning buildings, no invasion. Yet fear spread faster than fire, because people began to move without choosing to. They danced, but with pain, not with joy, not with music. How could an entire city lose control of its own bodies? It began with a single woman. Her name was Frau Trophäa. One morning in July, she stepped out into the narrow streets of Strasbourg, cobblestones beneath her feet, summer heat hanging in the air. Then she began to dance. No musicians played, no festival filled the streets, just her body, moving. At first, neighbors watched in confusion. Some laughed, some whispered prayers. They assumed it would pass. After all, how long can someone dance before exhaustion wins? But hours passed, and she did not stop. When night fell, she was still moving. And when the sun rose the next morning, she was still there. What could drive someone to dance until exhaustion? By the second day, concern spread. By the third, fear. Frau Trophäa's feet began to swell. Blood stained the street. Her face tightened with pain, yet her body refused to rest. Then something even more disturbing happened. Others joined her. A man, then a woman, then another. People who claimed they couldn't stop moving. How does a condition spread without touch, without sound, without instruction? Within a week, dozens were dancing. By the end of the month, hundreds. The city watched in disbelief. This was not celebration. It was agony. Witnesses described dancers shaking violently, muscles cramping beyond endurance. Some collapsed from exhaustion, only to rise again. Others never stood back up. Heart attacks followed, strokes, severe dehydration, and still the movement continued. Why didn't fear stop it? Why didn't watching people die make others freeze instead of join? Terrified officials turned to doctors for answers. The diagnosis was simple: hot blood. The cure? Let them dance. Stages were built in public squares. Musicians were hired. Drums, fiddles, flutes. The belief was that movement would restore balance. But here's the unsettling part. What happens when authority gets the diagnosis wrong? Music filled the air, and instead of slowing, the plague accelerated. What was meant as medicine became fuel. Can following authority make things worse? As deaths mounted, panic replaced confidence. The city reversed course. Music was banned. Dancers were removed from public view. They were taken to shrines of St. Vitus, believed to cure involuntary movement. Priests prayed. Shoes were blessed. Forgiveness was begged. And slowly, the dancing began to fade. Was this ever a disease, or something else entirely? To this day, historians disagree. Some blame ergot poisoning, a hallucinogenic mold in rye bread. Others believe it was mass psychogenic illness. Strasbourg was under crushing pressure. Famine, disease, religious fear, constant anxiety about divine punishment. In such conditions, the human mind can fracture. If this happened once, could it happen again? Imagine waking up one morning and your legs begin to move on their own. At first, confusion. then panic, then pain, and no one believes you're sick. The dancing plague forces us to confront a disturbing truth. Control is not guaranteed. Under enough pressure, the body can rebel against the mind. By autumn of 1518, Strasbourg returned to silence, but the mystery never left. Because the dancing plague isn't just about the past. It's about the limits of human control. This is Ages of Intrigue, where history doesn't just give answers. It asks the questions we're still afraid to face.